Thank you, Governor Haley, for coming today to our small, family-owned, three-generation enterprise. We are excited to be part of this announcement, and we appreciate your hard work to develop business in South Carolina. Steer Supply Company is an example of what South Carolina's business-friendly environment brings to the table. Through the worst housing recession in our lifetime, we are growing in sales and reinvesting in our local community. We've added 15 new jobs in the last 3 years. Thanks to Governor Haley and the Team South Carolina, we live in a great state with a growing economy and expanding job opportunities. What an amazing place to operate a small business. Governor Haley is dedicated not only to recruiting new industries, but also providing a sensible regulatory environment for existing businesses like Steer Supply so we can flourish and hire more people. Governor Nikki Haley has made bringing jobs to South Carolina her top priority. Thanks to her aggressive job-creating efforts, existing homegrown businesses can reboot their growth initiatives in South Carolina's low-cost, low-tax, anti-union environment. Governor Haley's pro-business environment has retail and manufacturing sectors growing, and even our beleaguered housing market is recovering. It is true, now will never be a better time to buy a home. Our economic climate will continue to improve as existing businesses are able to expand right here. When a new industry locates in South Carolina, those folks need homes. When a home builder builds a new house, it has a domino effect on creating new jobs. So Governor Haley, continue to bring in the industry. We'll be ready, willing, and able to get this home building industry swinging their hammer again. With support from the Haley administration, more business will invest in South Carolina and grow in South Carolina. At Steer Supply, our slogan is, "We make it happen." Well, Governor Haley is making it happen in South Carolina. Thank you again, Governor Haley, for your commitment to business in the Palmetto State.
Thank you, John. I need to have you come work for me. That was great. I want to tell you, first of all, I appreciate Steer Supply Company for so many reasons, because having grown up in a family business, there is something that just pulls at my heartstrings when it comes to small business in South Carolina. Because when you have a small business, every day you wake up and you can't control who walks in your door, but you can control your overhead. And you can control the things you do in your business. And so you rely so much on providing the best customer service. You rely so much on trying to keep the cost of doing business low. And you rely so much on the people that work for you. And what I see at Steer is they've stayed very true to that small business. 65 years worth of continuing to make South Carolina great. Small businesses, during good times, never celebrate. They invest and hold their breath for the bad times. Bad business, they always say, well, this is the time to get lean, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to make it better. And so, first of all, I want to thank you for opening up your shop to us, let you know that you are what we fight for in South Carolina, and we will continue to do that. I also want to say we have Joe Loudon, Chief of Staff from DEW here as well, and then we are in the districts of Representative Nathan Ballantyne and Representative Chip Huggins that I know are very proud to be a part of having Steer in their district. So with that, we bring great news today. It is a great day in South Carolina because we can now say that March 2012, the unemployment number dropped for the 8th month in a row. We are now looking at 8.9%, down from 9.1%. This is almost the first time in 3.5 years that we have seen it below 9%. It has not been this low since 2008. It's the 8th consecutive month. What we have seen in this past year is jobs have gone up 32,871, and the unemployed have gone down 30,950. We are moving in the right direction. But what really warms my heart is while we continue to focus on training and we continue to focus on those that don't have a job, putting those in that we bring into the state, we are bringing businesses in. South Carolina is on fire. Not too long ago, we had the Small Business Journal say that the Palmetto State is back. But today, we open up the Wall Street Journal, and on the front page of the Marketplace is an article that says U.S. manufacturing denying naysayers. And I have to read you this because it says, it starts off saying, here's a pop quiz. Where did French tire maker Michelin, in an announcement last week, say it will build a new global factory? China, Mexico, or South Carolina? The answer is South Carolina. Second question is, what state is about to become the biggest manufacturer of tires in the United States? That would be South Carolina too. Anyone still thinking the U.S. has lost its manufacturing chops hasn't been to this part of the country. Yes, South Carolina. We are now the one everyone is looking at for how to bring business. Not bring it from one state to the other, but how to bring it from overseas to South Carolina. And it's through a simple metrics that we will continue to do. Keep the cost of doing business low. Keep the regulators at bay. Make sure that we have a trained workforce. It's why you see us doing the new training with ACT and making sure that the workers are better trained for these jobs that we're bringing in, and continuing to be one of the lowest unionized states in the country. So I will tell you, I will continue to be a union buster. I will continue to be a huge salesperson for South Carolina. But what I hope everybody does today is celebrate the fact that while 8.9 is not low enough, we are not satisfied yet. It is something to be said that we haven't seen this in 3.5 years, and we are moving in the right direction. So I thank all of you for being here, and now I will open it up to any questions, whether it would be with Dew or with the representatives or anyone from Steer.
Governor, you mentioned, you just talked about the training program. You did a story out in Suffolk County about a month ago, and they're excited about the jobs out there, but they're also concerned that some of the folks who were laid off from manufacturing jobs years ago aren't qualified now because the technology has changed a lot, so they have to get retrained. Is that something that you want to see maybe started in some of the community colleges, technical colleges?
We've already done all that. What we did was we started a few months back saying we've got people that are unemployed that want these jobs, and we've got these companies that can't find workers. We knew we needed to connect the dots, so we did a couple of things. We started, Mikey Johnson from Orangeburg's heading up our workforce team. DEW stepped in quickly and said, okay, how are we going to get them trained? We brought in ACT and asked them to make South Carolina a pilot. They came in and for free are going across the state and making sure that our training is matching up. The technical colleges have completely stepped up. Ready SC makes sure that whenever a manufacturer comes in, we say what skills do they need to have, how many do they need to have, and ask any of our manufacturing companies. And I was just at an announcement yesterday in Orangeburg. They are absolutely amazed at Ready SC and how ready they get those workers so that when they open their doors, they're ready to go to work.
Governor, how important have economic incentives been to bringing all these jobs into the state? I mean, how important of a role does the state giving companies incentives play?
Not that much, and that's what needs to be said for this. The only thing we've really focused on, and I'll refer you to Commerce for more of the details, but what we focus on is infrastructure. And infrastructure, one, our ports are amazing, and that's something that is continuing to drive manufacturing, and is that we continue to move positively in our ports. But two, for example, when we had to do that expansion at Bridgestone, they had those big Mac Daddy tires that needed to go down the interstate to the ports. We had to set up with DOT how they could go twice a week at 2 in the morning to make sure they kept those going. In Denmark, when we put Masonite doors, that was a door manufacturer, 200 jobs in a town of 2,000. It was magic in that town, but we had to make sure they could get 18-wheelers in and out. So mostly what we're having to do is infrastructure. We're not turning over checks. We're making sure they've got the infrastructure in place in these rural areas that wouldn't normally have it.
Has your mind changed at all from being a legislator and then campaign to being an executive about, incentives and about offering them up? Has your position evolved any since, before you became governor?
No, because I don't think you just hand over a check to win someone over. I think you create a business environment that allows them to make money every day. What you are seeing us do in our administration is, when we took DHEC and replaced the entire board with business people, strong business people, when we put the chairman of DHEC as who's the president of a construction company, when we put the heads of every one of our agencies that were business people and said time is money, and if you are costing a business time, you're costing them money. When we reminded state employees that when someone calls, you work for them. When we created this new website at Commerce that now allows businesses to go and figure out how they can get contracts with Boeing and Continental and Bridgestone, and it walks them through the process. This is agencies at work, but agencies working together. What you've seen South Carolina do in the past is every agency has done its own thing. Now we're Team South Carolina. Now everything happens, we win together, we lose together. And so all agencies are involved, whether it's DEW, whether it's Commerce, whether it's PRT. If you noticed the Heritage last week, Totally new event, not because we had new sponsors, because we made it a business networking event. We had a First Gentleman's Invitational where we brought in all potential companies that were looking at South Carolina. We mixed them in with companies that were already here. We let them talk. They bragged about South Carolina. Yesterday, I was at the Tire Industry Conference on Hilton Head. People from across the world, and I bet you we got 20 business cards of people wanting to expand in South Carolina. And their reasoning is, unions are low, the cost of doing business is low, and you've got a governor who understands it's about cash flow and profit margins. If a company can make cash flow and profit margins, they're going to hire people and they're going to expand their business.
I wanted to just ask you to follow up on the DHHS issue from yesterday. I know you talked about streamlining government and getting the Inspector General involved, and that was pretty scary, pretty big, startling news about all that fraud that took place yesterday. Anything you can do or encourage to maybe prevent or at least catch this kind of stuff from happening or before it gets out of hand?
First of all, let me say that it is absolutely despicable what this individual did. To sit there and give away personal information for personal gain is something that will not be tolerated in South Carolina. And so what we have done is not only do we have full investigations going into Health and Human Services, and I applaud Director Keck because where there's smoke, there's fire, and he didn't let it go. He sensed something was wrong. But we have put the Inspector General in every one of my cabinet agencies to say, how do we make sure this breach of information doesn't happen again? So we will make sure that every one of our agencies has a new implementation that goes into place that will red flag these things the next time so that it does prevent it.
A lot of economists say that the U.S. economy can't recover until housing comes back forward. What needs to be done? What are the obstacles remain to get housing back?
Well, you know what I loved about this article? If you read it, it talks about Michelin, and Pete Selleck says all the reasons why they chose South Carolina over Mexico, because that was basically the decisions. And all the things that were pluses were things that the state can control. All the things that were negatives were things coming out of D.C. So it shows we're doing everything right. Bottom line is, businesses want us to stay out of the way. You know, when I talk to Steer Supply Company, they want to keep the regulators away, keep the unions away, keep government away. If we can turn around and do that and just let them run their business, all that extra money that we can save them on their bottom line is going to go into expanding. So the housing crisis, what we saw was the effects of the federal government on banking. We literally saw it go from one extreme to the other. We're now starting to see it breathe. But what you are seeing, the reason we are seeing better housing, the reason you're seeing unemployment go down, the reason you're seeing businesses do better, is that we're fighting in spite of Washington. We're doing things in spite of Washington. South Carolina is not going to let Washington run us. We are going to make sure we take control of our state. That is why we're on the map for bringing business. That is why we're bringing manufacturing from overseas. That is why you will continue to see our unemployment go down.
Governor, is it just about, not about just bringing the Michelin as a big tire, the big increase, hundreds of jobs in small towns? Was it about the 5 jobs here, 5 jobs there?
The 15 jobs that came to Steer Supply Company are just as important as the 600 jobs we announced in York County with Ross. And the reason is 95% of our business in South Carolina is still small business. Those are the ones we have to take care of. You know, when you look at things, it's the reason why I've pushed so hard to phase out the corporate income tax. The reason you don't hear BMW and Boeing screaming about it is because they don't pay it. These guys, they pay it. So if you go and you phase out the corporate income tax from these guys, that extra money, they're not going on vacation. They're going to hire more people. They're going to expand their business. That's the goal of why I'm pushing for tax reform. That's the goal why I say corporate tax needs to be phased out. Individual income tax needs to be reduced. Those things matter to businesses like Steer. Anything else? Okay, go celebrate. Happy Friday.